a minute. That means the SmackDown Tag Team titles go to Monday night.
Say isn't.
And the second pick, SmackDown selects Big E.
What's going on, YouTube? It's SCA Place to be. Children, Mr. Andy. Back to give you guys another SmackDown review for October 9th. 2020, and it's the draft, people. We're here to finally draft to see who's going to go to Raw, who's going to go to SmackDown to start off the new season of Raw and SmackDown. And do you think that they did some things that made asinine and made no sense? Absolutely. That's why we're going to talk about it right now. So round one starts off. Stephanie McMahon comes out. Well, I'm singing the wrong song. Stephanie McMahon comes out and she talks about who's going to be drafted first. So of course, Raw gets the first pick. They get 3. SmackDown gets 2 because SmackDown's a 2-hour show. Raw's a 3-hour show. They need more superstars. So, Drew McIntyre's the first overall pick for Raw. Roman Reigns the first overall pick for SmackDown. Then, Asuka is the 3rd overall pick for Raw. And then 4th is Seth Rollins. I'm like, okay, so Seth Rollins is going to SmackDown. And I'm like, finally, we can break up the Mysterio thing. So we thought. And then finishing out the 5th round is the Hurt Business. So that's the whole round one of the way it looks. Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Asuka, Seth Rollins, Hurt Business. So that's how it's going. And then we go into our first matchup. It's a Falls Count Anywhere matchup between Big E versus Sheamus. And off the bat, these guys are just throwing blows at each other. Big E goes for a spear on the apron of Sheamus, but this time like his foot gets caught and kind of hit his face on the floor a little bit. This is what I'm talking about. This is what scares me about that spirit. You don't have to do that thing on SmackDown. So that they're fighting. Sheamus has a kendo stick, ties Big E up in the ropes, so it's hitting him in the chest with the kendo stick. It looks like it's brutal, but Big E gets out of it, straps Sheamus's feet down with something. They start hitting him with a kendo stick and knocks him over the barricade. They go fight their way to the back, but then Sheamus gives Big E a suplex on this metal ramp that's on a truck or 4x4, whatever it is, and then he throws powder and eggs on Big E, kind of like how the Booker T thing and the grocery market. That's the first thing I thought of. And then he's beating Big E down, but then Big E takes these 2 brooms, breaks him over Sheamus. Like they are really beating the hell out of each other in this. And then he takes a trash can and then rams into Sheamus and knocks him to the outside. So now we're in the parking lot area. And in the parking lot area, Sheamus goes and gives Big E that white noise onto a windshield, cracks that windshield. And then there was a thing where Sheamus tried to go for a bro kick. Big E picks him up to go for a powerbomb on his car. Didn't get all of that. He wanted to crack that windshield, but then he throws him on Sheamus. Sheamus like slides off the car due to sweat and everything. But then he goes and suplex Sheamus again to crack the windshield. It was a lot of spots like that tonight, because something like that happened at the end. I'll get to in a minute. And there was these tables set up on the one side of the car. Big E gets Sheamus up and gets him for a big ending through the tables. Big E wins an impressive matchup. He's really looking good in that singles role, and Big E takes the win here. Jey Uso comes to the ring, and Jey Uso wants to know, so what is it, Uso? What is it, cuz? What's the stipulation that you got going on for us in Hell in a Cell? Paul Heyman comes on and says, backstage like an office area, and that he will be the tribal chief will be addressing him. And then Roman Reigns comes up, sits in the chair and says, look, man, I love you, but there's consequences. And for the first time ever inside Hell in a Cell, it's going to be an I Quit match. So that's stuff that you create on video games, stuff like that. That's actually TNA level type stuff. Because remember, TNA had the Lockdown pay-per-view, and instead of just having each match be a regular cage match, it would be different stipulations with the cage surrounding it. And I think if you're going to do Hell in a Cell, which I do not like in the first place, the pay-per-view as a whole, if you're going to do that, I think having stipulations inside the different Hell in a Cells makes it a little bit better, because there's different ways to win the thing. So now I'm actually looking forward to this matchup. Would I like it to have this new Tribal Chief Roman Reigns against somebody else, maybe with Jey Uso? Because I know Jey Uso's not going to win this matchup. There's no way Roman Reigns, the way he's been built up right now with Paul Heyman as Universal Champion, as the Tribal Chief, going to say I quit. He's not. So we just basically seeing an Uso beatdown inside Hell in a Cell. So would I like to see somebody else do that kind of stuff? Like maybe The Fiend? That would have been the match right there. But and I think I would like that better at WrestleMania anyway, to be honest with you. But yeah, so but I'm curious to see how. But they had a good match at Clash of Champions, so I'm curious to see how they're going to do this now. Round 2 of the draft. The first pick going to Raw is none other than AJ Styles is going over to Monday Night Raw. Number 2, it is Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks is getting drafted back over to SmackDown. For pick 3, Naomi is going over to Raw. So that's cool. But then pick 4, Bianca Belair is coming over to SmackDown. Need it, because they're not doing anything with her over on Raw other than showing these EST clips. So yeah, she needs to come over to SmackDown and, you know, make herself known. And pick number 5, the last pick of round 2, is going to Raw. They're keeping the Raw Women's Tag Team Champion Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. So I'm like, well, obviously, so there really wasn't that much switch other than AJ going to Raw, because you know AJ does not want to be around Paul Heyman, so you knew that was happening. AJ coming back over to Raw, and then now Bianca Belair going to SmackDown was pretty dope. Naomi going to Raw could be something cool for her over there also. Don't know if the Usos are going to be over there. They're going to try to break up the Usos, which would be stupid, but you know, we won't know that until we see how things go later on tonight. Jeff Hardy and Matt Riddle are thrown in as a random tag team to take on the team of Morrison and Miz. Okay, so this matchup really wasn't nothing much special. Matt Riddle hits the little forward tombstone on the Miz and picks up the win here. And I'm like, okay, what's the point of this matchup? And we now find out Lars Sullivan makes his way back to WWE, and he comes in and destroys everybody. He gives the freak accident to Jeff Hardy, freak accident to Matt Riddle, and then he goes and gives the freak accident to the Miz. Morrison gets out of Dodge just in time. So Lars Sullivan is back. They don't know what show he's going to be on, because Stephanie McMahon, when she goes out for the next round pool, says that he's going to be in the Raw pool this Monday. We're going to see where Lars Sullivan gets drafted. Here's the thing. Personally, I don't know how I feel about Lars Sullivan. As a wrestler, I like Lars Sullivan, and I like the monster they gave him in NXT. I really like him in NXT. But so we got to see how he's going to be booked. Now, he come back, got the nice beard come back and everything like that. So, we got to see what happens. Round 3, first pick to Raw is Ricochet. So I'm like, well, can't get the Hurt Business and Ricochet away from each other. Pick 2 for round 3, Jey Uso. So Jey Uso staying on SmackDown. Might as well. You got a championship match at Hell in a Cell. So why would they see? That's why I hate when they be booking stuff like that and the draft is coming up. Like, you shouldn't even know what the Hell in a Cell match card is until the draft is over. Pick 3 for going to Raw, Mandy Rose. Then it go back to SmackDown for pick number 4, and we get Rey Mysterio and Dominic. I could just pull my hair out. God, if you had a chance. So 2 storylines that are just overplayed, just keep going over and over again. We gotta do this shit again. We gotta do now. Mysterio and Dominic are on SmackDown along with Seth Rollins, and of course Ricochet is on Raw with the Hurt Business. They cannot get. You gotta get them apart from each other. And then on Raw is Miz and Morrison. Miz and Morrison are not going over to Raw. Once again, when it comes to the draft, the Miz flip-flops. So the next draft next year, Miz is coming back to SmackDown. He's the flip-flopper all the time. I mean, he got to be tired of it. Next up is for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Sasha Banks to take on Bayley. Stop right there. First off, I knew this match wasn't even going to be a thing, because why would you give that away on SmackDown? The only reason why they promoted this matchup on SmackDown is to try to get viewers on there, because they're losing numbers, okay? That's the problem. Alright? People don't want to admit ratings matter, and they're losing, and they try to put these big time matches on these shows just to build ratings instead of trying to tell good stories. Well, Sasha Banks and Bayley are in the matchup. Sasha's all over Bayley and just fighting her, and Bayley can't come to grips. The match only goes about 2 minutes, and then Bayley gets out to the outside, takes a chair, and hits Sasha, and she gets disqualified. Well, Sasha grabs a chair, and then she goes off on Bayley, and Bayley gets out with her SmackDown Women's Championship. So you notice at the end of this feud at all, because backstage, Sasha Banks, calls her a coward, and then now she wants her for the SmackDown Women's Championship inside Hell in a Cell at Hell in a Cell. So that's what we're going to get. Let me tell you everything I have a problem with this. Why are you rushing the story in the first place? This is why I don't like Hell in a Cell. You don't need one day a year to have a Hell in a Cell matchup. Because a Hell in a Cell between Bayley and Sasha Banks, since their rivalry's been going on since 2015, would have been great for WrestleMania. I don't care where they're having it at. Whether they're going back to Florida, they have it in the Thunderdome, or if they're going to be people by that time, or since they're not going to Hollywood anymore, still have the fucking play. You could do it this way. And first of all, why did Sasha Banks come back so far? What you could have did was Sasha Banks could have went, and we would have to hear from her. Bayley could have another random ass matchup. I don't know, Bianca Belair, Naomi, somebody else had Hell in a Cell. Put them over. Well, I mean, Bayley would win that matchup. Go into Survivor Series, go into TLC, whatever the case may be. Come at the Royal Rumble. Sasha Banks comes back. You got to give us a chance to miss her. Okay? She comes back. She wins the Royal Rumble. And then she challenges Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And then you could have, this shit you did on SmackDown, you could have did that Fastlane. Get her disqualified. And then make the challenge for the Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania. Why was that hard? But no. We get this shit now, and Hell in a Cell is the blow-off feud. There should not be no more Sasha and Bayley after this Hell in a Cell. And then when you put 3 Hell in a Cell matches on one card, somebody does it. It's one match that is not allowed to go all out because Vince don't want to overshine the match that he wants to promote. This is the problem with Hell in a Cell. This is the problem I have with the storyline. That's why this whole thing bothers me. So we get another championship matchup, the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The New Day, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods, because they return as Big E was getting interviewed backstage about early in the night about his Fall Count Anywhere matchup. Scott's just some security guard outfit comes up as Kofi, and then Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods is back from injury. Great to see him back, to be honest with you. And he said, there's something missing. It's our WWE World Tag Team Championships. So I'm rocking the Xavier Woods a little bit right now anyway. So they go over the match against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. I was liking the team of Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, and I'm like, look, I love the New Day. I rep the New Day also, all power to my people. But I'm like, do they need the tag team titles right now? Because let's talk about being paid. First of all, Cesaro need to be, and Shinsuke Nakamura need to be solo acts in the first place. But I like them as a tag team. But anyway, they had a tag team matchup. It was a good matchup. It really is a good matchup. Kofi comes off the top rope, and then Cesaro hits him with a European uppercut, and then Nakamura tries to go, picks him up, but he gets in trouble in Paradise, knocks him down. Xavier Woods walks the ropes and do the elbow, which got him injured last time, but he ends up doing it, and they win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. It's a good matchup, and Big comes out and celebrates with them, and now it's time for round 4 of the draft. And getting drafted to Raw is none other than the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the New Day. And then they was like, why not? Where's E at? And then drafted Raw is the Tag Team New Day, and then drafted the SmackDown is Big E. They broke up the New Day. They separated them. The New Day's not officially broke up. They're separated, okay? They didn't have a Shield breakup or anything like that. They just separated them. And to be honest with you, this is probably the best way to do it. Because I'm gonna talk more about it on the No Game Seen Wrestling podcast, but honestly, this is the best way to do a split between a New Day and Big E, because Big E can do good on a solo run. And besides, there's no fucking draft anyway, so you think New Day gonna stay on Raw? No. You think Big E gonna stay on SmackDown? No. That's just what's gonna happen. Why did they have to bring the titles with them? No explanation. So obviously, Bianca Belair's here. It looks like Montez and Angelo's coming to SmackDown, to be honest with you. It looks like this is the black team that Vince wants up there. It's his New Day. Street Profits can go down there. The next pick for Raw, Dana Brooke. Next pick for SmackDown, Otis. And then the final pick of the draft is Angel Garza. So Angel Garza and Andrade is broken up. Vince obviously don't like these tag teams. He's just cutting them off at the lasers. We barely got any tag teams left in WWE right now. I think I can count like 4, maybe 5 if you include the women. So yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. That's why these matches get so redundant. So that's what it is. So it's like, okay, y'all broke up Heavy Machinery. You know, because I don't like Otis as a single star, and he's not ready for that just yet. Yeah, broke up Nakamura and Shinsuke. Then, separated the New Day. And then, the only way you got really together is the Hurt Business. So, whatever, and the Street Profits and all, and the Champions and stuff like that. So, all this stuff is, and maybe Lucha House Party. Maybe. But, we'll get to that in a minute. So, it is now time. Otis backstage talking about the case between him and Miz and stuff with Tuck. I really kind of blew all past that part. Then we get to the main event. The Fiend, first time on SmackDown, are going to take on Kevin Owens. So the Fiend, Kevin Owens come out there. They're fighting the Fiend. It's just like not selling any of Kevin Owens' offense, stuff like that. But then there's a time where Kevin Owens hits him with 3 straight super kicks and a cannonball and leads the Fiend to the outside. And then Kevin Owens does a frog splash off the apron to the Fiend on the outside. But then the Fiend does sit up. Now, this was the spot that they kind of botched. This was, I'm saying, happened during Sheamus and Big E. But the problem was it looked better with Sheamus and Big E. The Fiend was running, and Kevin was supposed to hit him with a pop-up powerbomb through the announce table. But it didn't work because the Fiend didn't get all the way up, and then the table didn't break. So then he picks the Fiend up again, and it's kind of like gives him a sky-high through the table. It just didn't look well because they botched the move. The Fiend sits up, and Kevin Owens, is trying to give everything he can. The Fiend trying to get him DDT on the floor, trying to get him count out. It's just not working. The Fiend comes back in, though, and does give Kevin Owens the Mandible Claw. And the Fiend wins the matchup. At the top of the ramp, you have Alexa Bliss there staring, and then the Fiend comes up there. They just stare into each other's eyes. I'm like, so you gonna kiss me or what? You know what I'm saying? What's gonna happen? And then they just stare at Kevin Owens. So obviously Alexa Bliss is joining in with the Fiend. Then we get a little promo for next week. Then we have the farewell 6-man tag match for the New Day, and then it gets Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sheamus. And then we have Roman Reigns taking on Braun Strowman for the Universal Championship, I believe it is. So, okay, what is so? And that was SmackDown. As a show, I enjoyed SmackDown. I actually give it a thumbs up. The draft picks, once again, they didn't really break apart anybody. I didn't really, the New Day thing I think needed to happen without them actually like somebody turning heel and breaking up, because they need to be separated for a little bit so Big can actually do this singles run. I'm fine with that. But not breaking up Ricochet and the Hurt Business and bringing up Dominic and Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins, and then come to find out we have more picks because now Kalisto I think is going to Raw, leaving Lucha House Party, and then Murphy is coming over to SmackDown. So the whole storyline is just being moved to SmackDown. If we don't like seeing the storyline on Raw, what makes you think we want to see the storyline on SmackDown? Makes no damn sense. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, so like I want to see the whole Hurt Business storyline over again on Raw. I'm like, so, post any comments down below. How you guys feel about SmackDown this past week? Do you like the draft picks? How you really feel about the New Day? That's like the biggest one that happened. Tell me how you feel about the New Day. Hit the like button if you guys enjoyed my review. Hit the subscribe button for more WWE content right here on Nerd Coalition Studios. So once again, it's the NCA place to be. Chill Train with Sandy, and the Fan React is out.